Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this first. It's the 1st of May, 2024, a Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in. How much does it cost to keep people in jail? Well, California is a little bit more expensive than the other states. But I think it's going to kind of shock you. Picture say a young woman, she's got 4 kids, okay? Say she's living in some place in the southeastern United States. And say she works 2 part-time jobs, but still her income, is under $40,000. Maybe it's, maybe it's $35,000 a year or $30,000 a year. Can't afford an apartment even. She has to live with her mother in a basement with those 4 kids, But she's getting by. And one of her biggest expenses maybe is a car. She has to have a car to get to work, And so she has to have an old car. She has to constantly be keeping it repaired, taking it to the shop, and getting it fixed because it's a clunker, So she's raising those 4 kids on say $35,000 a year or less. Okay? Raising 4 kids. Feeding 4 kids. Feeding 5 people, including herself. Well, how much does it cost to incarcerate 1 person in California? Security, $44,900. Inmate health care, $33,453. And look, going down the list, those are 2 of the big ones. Operating facility operations and records, $9,510 is a big one. Going down the list, finally we get to the total here. The total is, look, they even have miscellaneous is $367. Cognitive behavioral therapy, so on. Vocational training, so on. The total is $106,131. Probably nearly 4 times a young mother's income who's not incarcerated. This is unsustainable. Now, I realize this is California. California's cost more. And so I checked in other states, and other states are still like 60,000, 55, 60,000, even 70,000. Okay, so this is a little bit more at 106,000. But think about this for a minute. All these people in prison are going to be fed through this crisis. They're going to be kept warm. They're going to be kept in clothing. They're going to receive medical care here. Medical care, the inmate health care, $33,000 a year for that particular inmate, for any inmate in California. $33,000 a year just for that. That's probably more money than that young single mother would make just for the medical care. So they're going to be taken care of in this crisis in these incarcerated facilities. But what about the people on the street when this crisis really impacts hard, say a year or 2 down the line? What would happen to that young mother then? As grocery prices double and she's not even able to stay in the basement any longer, or her kids are going hungry. So the people on the outside, as far as I can see, a good enormous chunk of the population, are going to be going hungry, are not going to be have heat, are going to be on the street, having to fend for themselves. Meanwhile, the people incarcerated in the prison system are going to be taken care of. This system is upside down and not... I just put this on here so you guys can see how upside down this system really is that we have here. And how things are going to start to fall apart. And things are falling apart. Now, taking a look in the news today, the Korean Central Bank, they're planning on buying gold. And they've been buying gold. Their gold holdings have been going up, and it's revealed that it had spent more than $1 billion in its first gold purchase in more than a decade. because they're uncertain about global growth, and sovereign debts push central banks around the world to diversify from foreign reserves. They're going to proceed to buy a lot more gold. So, it talked about gold hitting a new all-time high and how things might change, though. But I don't think that's going to stop the central banks from buying gold. I think this is something that's going to grow. Now, taking a look at the election thing that's going on right now, in the United States with Donald Trump and Biden. What we're taking a look at is the swing states now are starting to change direction a little bit. It's starting to gain a little bit of momentum. It says here, Arizona, long viewed as leading Republican until backing Biden in 2020. Several statewide races in 2022 expect to be one of the closest races in November, as polls Trump holds a lead of 48 to 44. 4 percentage point margin that has grown since the November poll when he led at 43 to 41 in Arizona. It says Trump's now leading in Michigan. And so we see the elections already underway, sort of, because it's getting close. It's getting close to election time. November's not very far away. What is it right now? About 6 months away? When you're getting this close, you're going to start to see these polls come out and stuff. It says Trump's lead in Wisconsin also narrowly grew in November. So polls taken, I guess Trump is starting to lead in key swing states. Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. He's leading in some of these swing states right now. So now taking a look at what's going on over in Gaza. They're building this pier. The U.S. military is. They're building a floating pier so they can bring food into Gaza. I think that's great. That's good what they're doing there, to bring food into those hungry people. It says the United States military has published photos showing a floating pier being built in the Mediterranean Sea to help increase humanitarian aid deliveries in Gaza. Now the Houthis, I guess, were firing missiles at them when they're trying to build this thing. It looks like they're putting together these floating platforms, a lot of them. There's a man on that, and you can see how small he is compared to this ginormous floating platform that they've built. And I guess they can haul it around with tugs. They can tug it around, move it into position, and they've got themselves a dock that they can bring in, or they can pull it back out to sea again. That's a smart idea, in my mind, the way they're doing that, because if there's threats to their floating dock when they've got it docked in on land, docked to land, right? They can unsnap those and unbuckle it and unmoor it and hook it up to that tug and tow it out to sea again as fast as and when the trouble goes away, they can pull it back in again. It's smart, really smart. Now in the Philippines, over in the disputed area, in the South China Sea, which is one of the hot spots on Earth for war right now. They're at it again. The Philippines says that China has damaged the vessel in the South China Sea on the disputed shoal. The Chinese are on both sides of them here, and they're firing water cannons at the Philippine ship, and I'm not surprised that it damaged it. if their bilge pumps stop working, it could possibly sink it with that much water coming in above decks, you know. Of course, most of those ships have enclosed decks, so that the water, what happens is a lot of ships have enclosed decks, and what that means is as the water pours in on the top deck, it pours right off again, back out to sea again. So they're enclosed on the top and the bottom, a lot of these big ships. But this just shows right here how much animosity is in this region right now between China and the Philippines, and how this could break out into something much bigger so fast. You know? Now, if we move over to what's going on in Ukraine right now, in Odessa, they had this beautiful castle. It's an educational institution, and it's been dubbed the Harry Potter Castle. A Russian missile strike in Odessa hit it, and it was like a fairy tale castle. And whenever you see a buildings like that, okay, they're here, they're here, and they're there around the world. There's buildings like that are really historical monuments, that have a cultural significance to the world, like castles, and you know, and when one gets destroyed, you know, it's really a pity and a shame when one of them gets destroyed like that, because it's lost then at that point, and you don't get them back. And there's not that many of them around the world, of these places that are like, have a certain feel to them, like the Taj Mahal, you know, or I don't know what. I mean, here in America we have places like that. I mean, what if you lost the White House? It's historically significant, or what if you lost? What if somebody defaced the monument where they have all the what's the name of that monument where they have all the pictures of the faces of the president on a Mount Rushmore? Yeah, that's it. You know. I mean, there's places around the world like that, and I hate to see one of them blowing up. You can see how beautiful it was, you know, all those spires and stuff, you know. That's pitiful. Now, there's violence on the campuses in the United States right now. The LAPD, Los Angeles Police Department, they arrive at the UCLA campus. Violence has erupted with the protest groups. It says Los Angeles Police Department arrived at UCLA campus after violence broke out between two protest groups at a pro-Palestinian encampment early Wednesday morning. A video of the scene shows people storming the barricade of a pro-Palestinian encampment, with people jumping over the barricade set up and hitting people with sticks. Fireworks were also set off. Chaos at the UCLA campus. Protesters break things, I guess. 100 pro-Israel protesters who have been gathered since Tuesday afternoon approached the barricade around 11 p.m. Violent confrontation. It says the violence went on for 2 hours before police arrived and intervened. One person was driven away in an ambulance. Unclear how many people have been injured. Oh boy. This is really... Now, wanted to point something out to you guys, because so many times it's been said about Bitcoin that Bitcoin is used for money laundering. They come out and they use that as the governments and stuff to say, okay, we got to ban Bitcoin because Bitcoin is used for money laundering. Money laundering, money laundering. They keep saying that, right? But this red line right here shows, this red bar, enormous red bar, shows how much the fiat currencies, like your dollars and stuff like that, United States dollar and so on, is used for money laundering. This red bar right here. That's the indicator of how much the dollar is used for money laundering in the world. And now on the right, you see this little tiny red strip down here? You can barely see. This is the amount Bitcoin is used for money laundering. What does that tell you? I mean, it's not even 1% practically compared to what the dollar's used for it. So you can see that's all just a ruse. All this stuff about Bitcoin's used for money laundering. What they're doing is they're sealing in plastic this money and putting it in suitcases and stuff, traveling and stuff, and it's tremendous how much money is leaving one place and going into another place, and cash on airplanes and laundered money, and it's mostly done in fiat. Now, taking a look at the silver price today, we're up 14 cents. Let me refresh the page. So this page has been up for a while. Up 15 cents at 26.41. So it looks like the see, I'm going to tell you guys, Bitcoin and gold, they function different. They have a different function in the financial system than the cryptocurrencies. And cryptocurrencies are much more susceptible to a downturn in the markets. So we're seeing Bitcoin, silver and gold right now, come into a little bit of stability after they've taken a little bit of a price correction. But crypto, okay, Bitcoin's $22.99. It's up $13.20 today. But we're seeing crypto is really suffering. Bitcoin today is $57,385. So it did not hang on to the $60,000 mark. It slid. So that's quite a little substantial drop from our highs that we set a week or two ago of around 72,000, and 57,000 is quite a significant drop, and I know there's probably some people probably bought in at the higher price, Bitcoin around 72,000. They probably bought in, thinking it was going to go to 100. No, she fell back to 57,399. Ethereum is at $28.99. But there's a lot of volatility in the markets today. XRP's at 49.6 cents. Taking a look at the Dow today, earlier I looked and it was down like 500 points. Now it's up 88 points. That's pure volatility, and what's causing the volatility today is the Fed and their announcements or whatever. They talk. But I'm more interested in actions, what the Fed's actually going to do. Their talk is meaningless. Now, it seems like the market saw that they take this meaningless talk and they everything relies upon that meaningless talk. And so the Fed pulls the wool over their eyes almost every single time. But I know what the Fed's really going to do. I know what they're going to do. They're going to stay tight. Something's going to happen. In fact, I think something is slowly but surely happening. And like I did that show yesterday, I talked about this. How something's going to break. When something breaks, then they're going to come along, the Fed is, and they only got one tool. If you've only got one tool, a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that tool is the creation of new money, of more money. It's the only tool they have, really. But it's one heck of a powerful tool. And it's especially powerful against deflation. So, they're terrified of deflation. And so if the economy starts to... we're not that many... Think about it, really. We were like 8.7 or something at the peak of this last inflationary cycle. Inflation, the CPI, was like 8.7 or something. I forget exactly what it was. Maybe I'm quoting that wrong, but it was substantial. And they've knocked it down they've knocked it more than in half. Now it's not that much above the zero mark. It's just a couple points now left. But the economy is because of this tightness out there is all I'm saying is that couple of points that we're above on the CPI right now could just evaporate overnight with a downturn in the economy. And it could go negative. That's called deflation. And I'm going to tell you, if any negative numbers come in like that, the Fed's not going to allow that. They'll do whatever they have to do to fight against deflation. They're not going to allow this economy to deflate. But when they flop it the other way, see, they want to try to dial things in. They want to make little moves and little moves and little moves, and they're watching the numbers and watching the charts and watching all of their indexes and stuff, and they want to try to dial it in. But the problem is what they're dealing with here is something that's almost impossible to dial it in right where they want it. To find that terminal rate they want. It's almost impossible to dial in that terminal rate. It's going to bounce one way or the other really quickly. And that's how things move in the financial system. They like it if it moves slow, but it's not going to move slow. When it moves, it's going to move quick, and it could move right down toward deflation overnight with a few problems that happen. Maybe a few more banks going down, or goodness knows what could trigger it. The commercial real estate market, etc. Then boom, they're going to come in with the money again. And then it's going to go the other way. It'll flop. This is what volatility does. This is what we're seeing in the markets today. I come on here and I look like just about an hour or two ago, and it was like 500 points down. Now it's 107 points up. See, that's not dialed in. And the whole general economy functions the same way. It's something that's... I remember I had a wood stove one time. And I was trying to dial that thing in, and I never could. It would always either get way too hot or it would be too cold. I have a fire going on in the thing. There's no heat coming out of this thing. Well, stuff some wood in it, Pop would say, you know. So I stuffed some wood in it. Next thing you know, it's roaring red hot, the darn thing, and I had to throw a cup full of water into the thing. I had a wood stove like that. It must have been the vents in it or something one time. It was like that. That's what the financial system's like. They're trying to dial it in, but it's going to have a mind of its own at a certain point. Crude oil today. It's down $1.36, which is quite a big drop for crude. 80.57. So we could see a little drop at the pump, considering the drop in the price of crude. So we're getting almost down into the 70s again. And it didn't make its $90 like I thought it was going to. Bonds and rates today, we're seeing falling yields. Now, they have to get these yields falling today because they saw what happened earlier in the day to the markets, you know, and they got to get these yields trim a little bit off. So here we go. We're down 2.5 basis points on the 10-year at 4.65, and the 30-year is at 4.76. It's down 2.8 basis points. And finishing off, to take a look at the U.S. dollar index today at 106.17 and falling right now. Now I haven't heard what the mouthpiece of the Fed has said yet, Jerome Powell. I haven't heard what he said yet today, but it must have had a positive effect on the markets because we saw this change, you know, up 102 points now. And we're looking at, take a look at the silver price again here. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to my show. I really appreciate you guys, my audience out there. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.